The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel explores how human psychology impacts the way we deal with money and wealth. The book provides deep insights into our biases and emotions that lead us to our financial decisions. Instead of just pointing out why each of us deals with money differently, it offers a more measured approach to creating wealth. Here are 6 key takeaways from The Psychology of Money. 1. Wealth is what you don't see. We've all heard the quote, "Don't just look rich, be rich." Morgan Housel explains this so intricately in the book. True wealth is often not visible in our material possessions. Instead, it's often found in intangible things such as financial security, peace of mind, and freedom of time. Most of us think that being wealthy means having a nice house, a fancy car, or expensive clothes. However, most times it is the opposite. Truly wealthy people are often not as flashy or showy with their possessions. Mark Zuckerberg, with over $80 billion of net worth, wears the same clothes every day because it frees his mind from thinking about what to wear. He'd rather put in that energy in striking billion-dollar deals than wasting it on looking nice. For him, expensive clothes are a hassle, while simple clothes give him freedom. This is why the wealthy think twice before spending on something they don't need. Not because they can't afford it, but because they know that putting $500,000 in a flashy yet depreciating sports car doesn't actually increase their wealth. Instead, it reduces it by that much. Also, material possessions do absolutely nothing in terms of getting you respect from others. When people see a flashy sports car on the road, they only admire the car and not the person in it. Instead, people imagine themselves driving that car and living their dream lifestyle. Therefore, it is far better to not throw in your hard-earned money on possessions that don't add to your wealth. Instead, save those $500,000 for emergencies and sleep peacefully at night because that's what truly matters. 2. Invest based on your financial goals. Apart from saving, investing your money is equally important for creating intergenerational wealth. However, investing is not the same for everyone, because investing psychology is not the same for everyone. Our personal experiences, cultural beliefs, financial circumstances, and societal norms dictate how we invest money. Numerous studies have shown that the lowest income group spends the maximum on lottery tickets. Some can even invest up to $400 a month on the lottery, knowing full well that the odds of winning are almost negligible. Also, when in urgent need, these same people can't come up with $400 for emergencies. On the surface of it, any rational person would think of them as lunatics who know nothing about money. However, if you see it from their perspective, you will realize why they make such financial decisions. These people barely earn enough to make ends meet. They live paycheck to paycheck and don't have the education to improve their circumstances. They feel trapped in a vicious cycle, and the lottery is their only hope. Although their actions still don't seem justified, they do make sense within such context, and that's the second key takeaway from the book. You should always invest considering your personal circumstances and financial goals. Even investment professionals create a tailor-made investment policy statement taking into account your personal risk and return requirements before investing your money. Similarly, you shouldn't invest in just any asset where your friends and family are investing. You should invest to meet your financial goals. 3. Don't interrupt compounding. While investing is one of the key objectives of our lives, the bigger objective should be to stay invested for as long as possible. Imagine there are 2 investors. Investor A invests 10% of her income each month in the S&P 500 and stays invested during all the ups and downs of the market. She reinvests all the dividends and doesn't sell at every opportunity. Whereas Investor B, even though has the same income and invests the same 10% every month, he actively sells every time the market rises slightly. At the end of 40 years of investing, Investor A ends up with twice as much as Investor B, just because she was consistent and reinvested all her gains. That's the power of compounding. The longer you let your money remain invested, the more you earn through compounding. And that's the reason why 99% of Warren Buffett's wealth has come from compounding. When someone asked him in an interview how they can also be as rich as him, he only said 2 words: start young. What he meant was, start young and remain invested for as long as you can, and see the magic of compounding do its thing. Buffett recounted that he started investing when he was 11 years old. He continued investing consistently, and by the age of 30, his investments were $1 million. However, after 50 years of age, his investment started growing tremendously. It grew to a whopping $84.2 billion, of which $81 billion came only after he was 60. So, the longer you stay invested, the better your returns compound. 4. Nothing in life is free. Although we know that compounding is like a magical accelerator, it has its own demerits. Think of the same investor A who consistently invested the same amount in the index, even during the huge market dips such as the 2008 financial crisis. While everyone was taking their money out, whatever little remained of it, she still kept investing the same 10% in the market. Do you think she was all calm about it? Naturally, no. She was panicking inside. She had no clue if she would see her money again. She too had a life to lead, a family to support, and bills to pay. However, she felt she could earn enough and do all those things without having to withdraw her investments. So, that's the price she paid for ending up with twice as much as investor B. She bore the risk of wealth erosion and the anxiety that comes with it. But she knew one thing. Falling markets presented an opportunity to buy everything for cheap. And if she could remain invested for long enough, the minor setback to her portfolio would more than recover. So, that's why she ended up with much more investment wealth that she could use in her old age and also pass on to future generations. Therefore, being courageous about sticking to an investment strategy is the 4th key takeaway from the psychology of money. Markets face recessions for short periods and recover for much longer. So, by investing as much as possible during the recession, you end up with much better payoffs. Want to know more about investing during the recession? Check out another video for a 6-step recession investing framework. 5. Be reasonable, not rational. 2 key assumptions in economics and finance are: 1. People are rational. 2. More is always better. So, when we are out there in the race to make money, we try to stick too staunchly to these principles. However, we as human beings have emotional needs too. We can't just act as rational machines all the time. Therefore, the psychology of money teaches us how we need to be reasonable instead of being rational. Let's take an example. Suppose there are 2 people. Person A has $100,000, while person B has $400,000. Each is offered 2 choices by person C. Choice 1. Person C flips a fair coin. If it's heads, nothing happens. But if it's tails, A and B swap money. Choice 2. Person C takes their money, gives them $200,000 each, and keeps $100,000 for himself. If you are person A, what would you do? According to the probability theory of finance, person A has a 50% chance of getting $400,000 in choice 1, while in choice 2, he has a 100% chance of getting $200,000. The mathematical rationale works out like this. Outcome of choice 1, 50% times 100,000 plus 50% times 400,000 equals $250,000. Outcome of choice 2, 100% of $200,000, which equals $200,000. So, rationally, choice 1 offers $50,000 more. However, there is an uncertainty element involved in it. Person A could outrightly lose $100,000 if he doesn't pick choice 2. So, instead of taking the risk of just gaining $50,000 extra, person A is better off being reasonable and accepting the certain gain of $100,000 by picking choice 2. Here, more money is not necessarily better for him. This is how Morgan Housel tries to tell us that we need to know where to draw a line. When to say enough is enough. There will always be a bigger fish, someone earning more than you in some other part of the world. However, if you live a happy life where all your needs are getting met, all your bills are getting paid, and your future is secured, the little extra money at the cost of losing everything you have is not worth it. 6. Have a plan B. Finally, the last takeaway from the book is to be prepared for the future. In finance circles, events such as the 2008 global financial crisis, the 2009 Eurozone crisis, and COVID-19 pandemic are called black swans. These outlier events are unpredictable, and we as human beings can only see the signs of such crises in hindsight. No one knows when such a crisis erupts, so we need to have sufficient resources to be able to emerge unscathed. This is why we need to have a plan B if not everything goes as planned. We need to follow certain thumb rules that can help us bear through tough times as smoothly as possible. While most of these rules, such as living below your means, keeping an emergency fund, and saving as much as possible are pretty obvious to you by now, there's a fair chance that you might have missed one very crucial rule. You need to be conservative in your expectations. If you reasonably estimate that your investments can grow 10%, you need to assume a growth rate of only 7%. Having conservative expectations helps you make the most of your working lifetime. You work harder and try to maximize your earnings while you can, because the time, once gone, never returns. Once you age, you don't have enough left in you to create wealth. Therefore, keeping the conservative hat on not only ensures you have enough to lead your life comfortably, but also bear through unforeseeable tough times without denting your lifestyle too much.